they said it would turn. That was the nearly unanimous conclusion of the weather experts and their squiggly spaghetti modeling. A year ago, they all predicted that Hurricane Matthew, a once powerful storm lurking in the Atlantic Ocean off the South Carolina coast, would make a sharp turn to the east. Virginia, they said, had nothing to fear. So a pensive Hampton Roads watched the storms progress with wary confidence. Some residents made a point of visiting the grocery store or a hardware outlet for supplies, but most figured a little heavy rain and wind gusts were no cause for worry. But weather forecasting is far from an exact science, and Matthew instead tracked up the coast, never made its turn and barreled right across the region beginning on October 8, a landscape already saturated by an array of severe weather, including Tropical Storm Hermine over Labor Day and the remnants of Tropical Storm Julia 2 weeks later, meant that Matthew's 912 inches of rain simply had no place to go. Creeks became raging streams, and roads transformed into swollen rivers. The underpasses in Norfolk filled with filthy rainwater, and cars driven carefully or quickly into the waterlogged thoroughfares found the same dismal fate. But the neighborhoods, in Chesapeake and Portsmouth, in Hampton and Norfolk, and especially in Virginia Beach, bore the worst of Matthew's effects as water poured into bedrooms, living rooms and kitchens across the region. It was a soggy, harrowing nightmare come to life, one from which some families have yet to fully recover. 1 year later, the ugly stain of that storm remains visible across Hampton Roads. All told, Hurricane Matthew inflicted billions in damage on the southeastern United States, from Florida to Virginia. North Carolina, in particular, took a beating. Heavy rains there flooded all 6 of the river basins that carve up the eastern part of the state, leaving many towns under water for days. One of the poorest regions of the country, eastern North Carolina, is home to some communities that may never recover, despite the best efforts of state and federal officials. The damage in Hampton Roads was more acute, generally confined to low-lying or waterside communities across the region. Virginia Beach was the worst hit, and about half of the 4,000 homes flooded in Virginia were located there. 5 neighborhoods, Windsor Woods, Princess Anne Plaza, Asheville Park, Sherwood Lakes and the Lakes, saw the worst of it. And, in fact, residents in many of those places had long ago pointed to flooding as a key concern. Virginia Beach officials were aware of the risk and recognized that the city had a long list of investments needed across the community to improve stormwater drainage. The total price tag, per a presentation in December to City Council, is expected to reach $500 million. Of course, that's still too little, too late for families that had lost everything in Matthew's floodwaters. It is little better for those who managed to rebuild but still had City Hall telling them that stormwater work could take as long as 15 years to complete. The resulting outrage has yet to subside, nor should it, really. Homeowners have every right to wonder why this wasn't more of a priority years ago, despite understanding that what happened last year was an anomaly, an uncommon string of storms that conspired to create a massive disaster. Before Matthew, the City Council was putting about $22 million a year into its stormwater capital improvement plan, but upped its funding to $300 million deployed over 6 years, raising the stormwater fee to help pay for it. Residents will pay $9.12 more a year for 5 years. That investment should bring tangible improvement, though it is far from perfect. Only $16.5 million was designated for Windsor Woods, which has $31 million in needs. Princess Anne will receive $20 million of the $66 million estimated for its projects. Only $2 million is set aside for the lakes. Lake Chubb, which was not on the original list, will get $6 million. That's not all that's being done. Dredging projects are clearing canals to expedite drainage, and the City Council was updated on the progress of those efforts in September. By most accounts, City Hall is acting with greater responsiveness to requests for service on those issues as well. The city also launched an adopted rain program so volunteers can help keep gutters free from debris. That will help direct some public action toward the problem, though it's kind of astounding that a city of its size, with a budget that large, needs volunteers to keep its drains clear. Yet, so long as the storms keep threatening the coast, so long as the seas keep creeping higher, so long as people still live in those neighborhoods and the drainage work remains incomplete, folks who live there will be at risk. That is part of Matthew's unfortunate legacy, and it's an unwelcome consequence of living in Hampton Roads. There is still much more to be done across the region to deal with recurrent flooding and to better prepare in the event of another hurricane. Cities such as Virginia Beach must make thoughtful decisions about planning development and emphasize smart growth so as to protect residents and not add to the problems. They must continue to invest in stormwater improvements, to be vigilant about draining, and to be smart about improving new residential areas. Residents must also play a role, involving themselves in civic affairs surrounding these decisions and calling on candidates, especially in this election season, to make dealing with recurrent flooding a priority in Richmond as well as in our local communities. The flooding from Hurricane Matthew may well have been an anomaly, but that in no way diminishes the need for mitigation and reasonable precautions for the future. As was witnessed this year in places such as Houston, shoddy planning and poor drainage can put lives and property at risk. Hampton Roads can do better. That's the best way to be ready for the next storm that doesn't move in the manner meteorologists predict.